Good morning. Very spontaneous experience forcing this. I don't know if it's a frustrated speaker, a frustrated mind, or just a deep concern for um, our young children and what is currently taking place. You see, now, it's not about what is taking place on the TV screen, what is taking place on the at your work in Ukraine. It's not about this. It's the taking place of that change where the cry for help is now a serious cry for help. And it's life that's crying for help. Now, what can life ask for? Who can life cry to? What else is there outside of life, you see? We're not talking now about spirituality, religion, science, because these things are perceived as futuristic, possible awakening, deathly, out of body, near death, angelic, heavenly experiences that are very important. But the cry is not from the spiritual. It's not from the godly. It's not from that manifested, fantastical, imaginative, hopeful, believing, needful, desiring, whole self. Let me explain. Let this mind come on to the floor and explain for the final time. The human body and its mind. The mind never suffers. The mind never suffers. The ego mind never suffers. It suffers itself. You see? So this is the suffering is not the same suffering that you experience when you're depressed, stressed, anxiety, mentally what's the word? When you lose that drive. The ego mind suffers itself. It loves to impose the suffering on itself because it likes to be affected by that kind of suffering. But that suffering is not what is deemed as the negative suffering. It can be deemed as the overwhelming, I need to be successful. I need to drive. I need to be something other than what I am. It appears to the mind as it develops its own way of experiencing itself. If I'm happy, content, and wanting more, I'm suffering because I'm not happy with just being content. This form of suffering is perceived to be, that's great. But the body, it suffers on the side through a headache, through a feeling of heaviness, through a feeling of, you can't use the word hope and belief because the body has no hope and believing function. It just is an existing function. So it exists as if it's very, very able or it's very not able. So when the ego mind is really predominant, in whatever way the body is affected through what we call depression. Now, the psychologists and all these incredibly gifted people will say it's the mind that is suffering. And of course, the ego is suffering, but not in a singular one way to negativity, to depression, to I haven't any money, poor me. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I don't know how to get into the world. I don't know who loves me. I don't know how, if I love myself, you see. It is also revealed in the opposite way. I absolutely have to get something out of life. And when I get it, I'm going to really be joyful. Really fall into that enlightened sat chit and understand I want this world to be as free and peaceful and incredibly able, so that it's all going to be great, and we'll all have a party, and we'll all have, drink and drugs and dancing and love making and all this deemed opposing. How detrimental is it not only to the ego, which cannot help itself, but to the body, which goes from this heavyweight state, this oh my God, I can't do it state, suddenly into this hopeful, and then suddenly into the immediate impact of it's wow. In New German medicine, they call it the trauma between the brain and the body, and the brain and the mind, and that three-way that religion talks about, the three-way God. You have the brain, you have the mind, and you have the soul, or you have the being. Yeah. Every one of them has to be evenly balanced for this triangle to be perfect. Now, I don't want to go on with this, because the point of this is our children are being hypnotized the same as us. When I say us, I'm not speaking about the body. I'm speaking about hypnotized into believing the ego is the only representative of this triangle. It affects the brain, it affects the body. You can't say it in a negative way, you can't say it in a positive way. It has a major effect on it. It definitely affects itself, but it gets out of that by imposing the blame on the body. So therefore, when depression and headaches and suffering, it's the ego saying, I don't want it. Body, you have it. The ego is detrimental to the mind, the pure mind, the body, and the brain. But we don't know how to control our ego, you see, because it's been so hypnotized into believing it is only the ego and the body as one. It's forgot about the brain, it's forgot about the pure mind, it's forgot about the consciousness, it's forgot about the soul or the beingness. It only believes it's the mind, ego, me, the person, as the body alone. So therefore the body is wholly affected. The brain itself is part of the body, but it can actually rejig. It can, replace the chemicals, the opiates, the dopamines, the serotonins. It can muck about to get it right. The brain does everything every day to rejig itself, to realign itself through that detrimental ego's presence. Now, this won't make sense, and I'm not the greatest specialist behind the scientific and the biological of the body. But what will make sense to you is, I'm not a very great TV addict, but last night, which probably is that, along with some, people close to me being affected, young people affected by this depression, this anxiety, this mental torture that they're going through, psychological destruction of their freedom to be alive. Last night I watched TV, I watched two programs back to back. One was a soap, the next one was a reality. And after, the point of this is not the programs. The programs were absolutely abysmal. Into one being the most negative, the soap, and the reality one being the most joyful. After each program, immediately when the program was finished, if there is someone out there affected by this, please contact your relative places. What are they? The helplines, the places who advocate, who advertise. So I don't think it's psychology behind this. I don't think it's counselling behind this. I don't think it's the Mental Health Association behind this. They are the pickers up. They are the ones that are given the task of trying to recover those that are affected by the programs. What makes TV to say at the end, to feel obligated to say, if you're affected, what is the content of the program? Why is the content of the program projected into the lives of those that are already possibly hypnotized by this ego mind into a negateful way of life? Why make programs where you have to defend the people who are watching them? Why not make happy programs? I don't mean happy. I mean, why not make, programs about nature? What is it that drives people to watch their mind being stimulated into an overwhelming, depressive ego, feeling as though it's not depressed? I feel good about it. You see, I managed to get through that program, and I'm okay, And then 2 million others say, that's just like my life. This is reality. If this is reality, if television is promoting reality as what reality is deemed to be, then there's no hope for our children. Now, hope meaning suffering of the ego will continue. We can live with suffering ego. We have done for centuries. We have been living with this opposing state minds. Good is good and bad is bad. My good is better than your good, and your good is better than my bad. My bad is better than your bad. I'm not so bad as you. Your bad is really bad. What the hell is that about, Why create words and give it multiple meanings to say, I can get out of this, So the program gets out of it. I'm giving you a bad representation of what life is. I'm giving you a bad representation of what life is, deemed to be bad. Yeah, but I'm giving you the option to get out of it by seeking help. But if I don't show you the program, you won't need to seek help. This is the representation of what we have forgotten, of what we are living because we've forgotten. We've forgotten about ourselves and our genuine and our loyalty to ourselves and our love for ourselves and our, rights to be free. Not free as a society, free in your own body, free out with your body, free, Hypnotizing means, if we don't dehypnotize, putting children in a situation where they're forced. But you see, we can't blame others. So if you're a child out there, if you're somebody young, and it's very fragile, because if the child has an association with the brain or with some sort of feeling of goodness somewhere hidden behind all this crap, then they have a possibility to dehypnotize themselves. But if they're living with ego and mind as a pure idea that they are 100% guilty of being miserable, being depressed, the body is as guilty as the ego, then it's a fragile place to be. Because the idea of giving up and surrendering to them is to maybe commit an act that is absolutely sacrilegious to what this speaker is speaking about and what all speakers and all what life is about, to be free. What nonsense do we give our children? What nonsense do we put on this screen? It's an act. We know it's an act. Adults know it's an act. Hopefully we know it's an act. This is a game. This is just a circus of pretending we are the policeman, we are the joiner. It's an act. We take off our uniforms when we go home. The priest takes off his gown and everything at night to watch TV. You know, that's okay. Because he knows throughout the day the religious side of him is an act. The politician is acting. You know. But when we try and represent life as you're either the clown, yes, everything is okay, everything is super, yes, just be funny, let's just be great. Yeah? Or the lion being whipped. Oh, oh, oh. That hatred, that depression, that feeling of pain and anguish and being controlled and tortured. Who wants that act? Who wants the act of the clown and who wants the act of the whipped, beat lion? No one. Everyone wants to be just free. Free of this mind that has been hypnotizing and is continuing to hypnotize. How do we get out of it? You know, let the child speak openly. Let the child be genuine. Let the child say it as it is. Let the child have freedom of speech, but not to another child, or to another person within themselves. Let them speak openly within themselves to discover the real genuine one that is being stifled and suffocated and being forced to be to every program. If you're affected by this, apparently most soaps, most programs now, reality programs, most dramas, most documentaries have this at the end of it. What are we revealing? What are we showing about human race? That we're all fucked up? Really? Is that how we perceive this life? Is that how we perceive living? I'm glad I don't watch TV. Because the only thing I'm affected with is being me. Now, you cannot judge another. You cannot see inside another one's head or mind. So you cannot speak on behalf of the world or the others. Even in a saintly, enlightened body, you cannot tell anyone other than yourself what is going on. So if you're offended by this world, seek help. How can you seek help? Trust yourself. Trust in yourself. Speak openly to yourself. Be yourself. You know, love yourself. This mind that is hypnotized into believing it's tomorrow that's going to bring the answer. Tomorrow I'll be better. In 2 years' time it's going to be great. And then the other mind says, in 2 years' time we're going to have robots. We're going to be extinct. There's going to be a war. What are these stories? Right now, look at yourself. Look at yourself right now. Look around you. You know? If you're watching a video, there must be some peace in your home. There's no children running about. There's no other things to attract your attention. So right now, everything is okay without the mind. worrying about your child, or worrying about life, or worrying about what we're projecting, or worrying about what the speaker is saying. Everything in your life, not me. It seems to be okay. Tomorrow it'll be okay. The next day it'll be okay. There will be fluctuations of this noise, this ego, making its, don't forget about me. Don't forget about me. There will be fluctuations. But when you're okay, you can see within your whole being and say, look, even inside everything's okay. Unless you're feeling ill, unless you have an illness. But even in the illness, you don't have to worry about the world. You don't have to worry about. That's the one thing about homes. They're only here to give you shelter and warmth. But they also give you that opportunity to be alone with yourself. There's not a way of dehypnotizing the whole ego. So the whole fight is not against the ego, trying to think differently. Let the thoughts come and go. There's a space between the thoughts. In this space, everything is okay. There's no past, there's no future, there's no thinker, there's no worrier, there's no happy one, there's no meditative one, there's no silence, there's no nothing. Even spiritual worlds go, even godly worlds go, even consciousness itself seems to go. In this space, everything is okay. The space won't last even longer than a second, but it'll grow into 2 seconds, into 3 seconds. And then you form the Jiddu Krishnamurti mind. When you're free, when the ego even is trying to bite, you can say to the ego, I know you're biting, but I don't mind. I know the world is not happy out there, but I don't mind. I know I didn't make it big in my mindful way that the world says I should become a celebrity or famous or have a great job or be rich. But I don't mind. I'm okay. I'm alive. I'm me, myself am. One of the greatest songs is Joan Armatrading, Me, Myself, I. Me, myself, I, me, myself, and I just be myself. That's what one of the listeners, Pop's the singer. I don't have the answers, you see. I will never have the answers. This I and the whole I does not have the answers. But your I will lead you to the only answer. There is only you in this world. What are you worried about? You have the whole world to walk in. You have the whole world to run in. When the idea comes to these people who are going to stop you walking, they're not going to stop you walking. They're trying to stop you thinking by putting on a ridiculous way of living. So the soaps are great. They're great. The reality shows are great. How do you deal with them? Don't watch them. Switch them off. They're not reality. This is not reality. You are reality. Alone, with no thoughts, with no ego, as one whole, spirit, being, consciousness, mind, body, soul. Ego, you can come. Yes, I know, I see you. Yes. I know what you're saying, ego. Thank you very much. I know I should be doing something worthwhile with my life. But you know what? Right now, I don't mind. Everything is okay. That's teaching. This meditation, this awakening, this enlightenment are only necessary for those who are completely facing that dark night of the soul. You don't want to get there. You don't want your children to get there. You don't want anybody to reach that point. You don't want anybody to become a saint, a sage, a guru, a speaker. But you don't want anybody to be anything other than what they are, their self, true, with an opportunity to see life for what it is. That's reality. See life for what it is, not what others tell you it is, not what your mind tells you it is, not when your TV tells you it is. Definitely not that. Life is what it is as you being alive, pure, and present in the moment of being. Every moment is that. Get out of this and become that I am. What else to say? Look for a teacher. Look for a good teacher. The teacher is within you. You know? Don't listen to the teacher that says go this way or that way. Listen to the teacher that says within you, remain here. Remain here. Not in your home, but everywhere the body takes itself. You are here. The mind is not here. The mind is this is the brain trying to deal. It's dealing with the shit that the ego for centuries keeps promoting on the screen of life, the screen of TV, the screen of negativity, the screen of past, the screen of future, the screen of positivity. Don't try and be positive or negative. Yourself cannot be positive or negative. Yourself is much greater than positive and negative. Yourself is true. It's the only true thing that exists. And when you're yourself, when you know yourself, not as a mind, as a subject, as an object, but as the space of life, the whole beingness, when you know yourself as that, there's no problems. Your body has accepted the mind has accepted the body, the soul has accepted the mind and the body, the spirit has accepted the spirit, the mind, the body, the consciousness can be whole, because all is one. Look after yourselves. Look after your children. Let them be expressing themselves in whatever way they want. Don't let them feel threatened to go to university, forced to go to school. But it's your children. Is it your children? Or are you here to support and care for the child that you gave birth to? Think about what the child is. Think about your child. How much do you love your child? How much do you love your child? If you love your child, you'll allow them to express themselves freely, but not using these methods of mental, constructed, possible ways of living. No, the possible ways of living. I don't want my child to be a bully. Bullies don't exist. Yeah. The mind of ego that makes all these nonsense worlds about racism. Racism does not exist in the bodies. To the ego, yes it does. Absolutely. If you're saying racism exists right now, your ego mind is dominating the whole platform, the whole stage. On the television screen, yeah, in your work, you may experience minuscule ways of people not accepting people for things that you imagine could be down to the color of their skin or to the way they talk or to the conforming shapes of their body, you know. But that's your conditioned ego mind making decisions on that. Two bodies interacting with no mental constructed relationship. They love each other, whatever they are. I have to go, my battery's low. Finally, please ignore these words and be yourself. Be yourself. Get rid of this guy. Get rid of the TV, get rid of whatever it is in your life that makes you feel anything other than just yourself, free, a liberated, and whole conscious being, as you are, as it is, as one whole. Namaste.